In this Watch It, we are going to be talking about classes and objects. And what you need to know about a class is that a class is a blueprint for all of the behavior and attributes that your object is going to be able to do or perform. So when I say object, we're going to create a class, okay? And we are going to work together to create a student class. And that particular student is going to be the object of what we need to create. And our student is going to need a name, a grade, and a class that they're taking. Those are the three things that need to be assigned to that student object. So down here, we have defining a class. And to define a class, we do it as similar to how we defined a method or a function. We say class student. That's what we're creating. We're creating the class student. You put your colon, and then you have to use the define, the DEF, so that you can create an initialization method or a constructor method that puts all of the behaviors, attributes that you want your student to have together. So we say def underscore underscore init, which means initialize, underscore underscore. You use self, you always put self in there, the name, the grade, the class. Those are the variables that we're going to be sending over to create our object. And then we say self.name. What happens is, remember that whatever is on the left side is receiving what's on the right side, okay? So self.name is receiving the name that we're going to be passing to it. Self.grade is receiving the grade. Self.classname is receiving the class. So once you do that, you put that information in there, and then we need to be able to get that information or manipulate that information. And that's where we come down to types of methods. Now, please make sure that you completely read everything in this section before you start the activity. Now, a constructor method is a special kind of method that's used in both Python and other languages to instantiate the object or define the object of your class. You always use the self as part of your instantiation. So here we say my student equals student Lee 10 science. So what's happening is we are passing Lee 10 science to the constructor method and it's going to place each of those items in the order that we sent it over to the constructor method. Then we have methods that are called accessors and mutators. And right here, we're going to look at an accessor. When we get into the activity, we're going to look at an accessor which gets information and retrieves it. That's all it does, is it gets it, retrieves it. Mutator is going to change the information. Okay, so remember that. An accessor just gets it, a mutator changes it. All right, so what you're going to do is open your Python IDL for this activity. I actually have already gone in and typed up all of this information once. So I kind of make mistakes when I am typing on the fly, so I didn't want to have to type everything out. I'm just going to type the creating the class so that you can see how to do that. So we open our Python IDL, you go to File, New, and it's going to open the editor right here. And then you're going to put in class, hit the space, put in student, colon, hit enter. Now it will automatically tab it for you. 2 underscores, type in init, 2 underscores. You must put in self, then comma, and then all of the variables that you want in that particular class. So we're going to say the name, the grade, the class. And you put your colon. Hit enter, it will automatically tab over. Type in self.name equals the name, self.grade equals the grade, self.class name equals the class. You have to hit enter twice so that it leaves a space, and then backspace once. Then you can go in and you can put in your methods, which are right here. Let me scroll this down a little, and we can put in our accessor methods. And I'm only going to type one because I actually have this completely typed up. So we just put in def get name. Now we are returning the name. So you put in return self.name. Because we're not returning the name, we're returning name. Okay, you need to remember that. Then you'll put in all of your accessor methods, and when you're done with that, you will put in your mutator method. So I am going to open mine so we can look at it. Here are our methods. We have our class name. Your file, when you save it, should always be saved with the same name as the constructor. It is very important that you remember that. So we have student.py, and our class is student. Please make sure that you remember that. Def underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and then our variables. Here are the variables that we are wanting to use, our accessor methods, and then our mutator methods. So right here we have def set name. Now, self must always be inside the parentheses. So we put self, comma, and then we're wanting to change the name. So we have to pass it a new name. So I'm going to put a new variable name here called new name. Self.name equals new name. So what's happening here is we are going to pass it a new name. It's going to take that new name and it's going to place it into self.name. And it will hold on to the new name that we're passing it. We're going to click Save. And then we need to type up our import class. So if we scroll down here, we're going to look at this. We have from student import asterisk. What that is telling the program is that it wants us to go to the student file, and anything that is in there, any methods or functions that are in there, we are going to be using. Pull all of them. Then it says to create an instance of the student class. So we say my student equals student, and then we have Xavier 9 history. What that's doing is it is sending the information over to the class file, and it is filling in those name, grade, the class, or class name. So it's taking the information that I'm sending it, putting it into those variables so that I can use it. Then I have print mystudent.getName, print mystudent.getGrade, print mystudent.getClassName, and then I have where I'm going to change Xavier's name, and I'm going to change Xavier to Christopher. So I have to my student, because that is the object. Remember that it works a little, we have our functions and our methods. So my student is my object. Dot set name, that's the method I want to call. So my student dot set name Christopher. Then I'm going to print out the new name. When I run that, So I'm going to open up my import. When I run this, it's going to pull all of the information that I asked for. It's going to change the name, and then it's going to pull the new name. So I'm going to click File. Oh, not File. Run module, and now it's going to run it. And so I have Xavier 9 history, and then because I changed it to Christopher, now the name is Christopher. So if I called it again, Christopher is going to be the name in there. It won't go back to Xavier. It will stay Christopher. If I needed more than one student, I could come in here and put my student 2 equals student, and this time I'm going to say James. He's in 10th grade and he's taking English. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to print my student 2 dot get name my student 2 dot get grade my student 2 dot get class name. I am going to go ahead and delete this out because I don't want all of that to print again. Let's just comment it out. We'll put pound signs in front of each line. We're going to run this. Yes, we need to save it, and it runs, and now it's pulling my student 2, James, in 10th grade, and he's taking English. All right, so now you are going to do the check for understanding. When you're done with the check for understanding, if you still have questions, please email me. I know that classes can be very confusing, so if you have any questions, please send them to me.